Is it even a rivalry anymore? The answer is no. South Carolina beats LSU for the 17th straight time. We talk about that. We talk about the latest debacle in men's basketball and more. Locked On Gamecocks starts right now.
You are Locked On Gamecocks, your daily podcast on the South Carolina Gamecocks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Locked On Gamecocks. I'm your host, Chris Marler. Hope everyone's having a fantastic Saturday as we record this. And thank you for making Locked On Gamecocks your first listen each and every day. Shout out to our everydayers. Remember, guys, we're a free and available podcast wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Make sure you download the Game Time app today. Set up your account. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, all capital letters, and get $20 off your first purchase with the Game Time app. You guys will have to bear with me. We're live right now watching the finishing moments of the South Carolina men's basketball game, down 3 in overtime. But we're going to start here with the women's game, and we will react to this accordingly. We're already off to a great start. The women's game last night, South Carolina versus LSU. There we go. Listen, it was a game that at first, I think South Carolina fans felt a little bit uneasy. LSU came out hot. They came out really hot. They played really well early on. But here's the bottom line. I was talking about this before we did the preview show. And I think now that the game's over, it's something that we can actually say, and it's not bad either way, considering where it came from. When we talked to people from LSU, one of the comments that I heard from most people around Baton Rouge before the game was they were asking, like, are people in Columbia excited about this? Are people in at the university excited about this? Like what's like the vibe around Columbia, especially with the odd week that we're having, blah, blah, blah. And I made the comment, I was like, yeah, but it feels like people are excited just from like the comments we've had in here and talking on social media and stuff. Anytime you have a top 5 matchup, like you saw how loud Colonial Life was. And the responses were, well, that's surprising because they've won 16 straight games. And to be considered a rival after losing 16 straight is a bit of a stretch. That word is carrying a lot of doing a lot of work there. It's not a rivalry. For this to be a rivalry, for like as good as LSU is, and they just won a national championship 2 years ago, but for this to be a rivalry, you have to win games. You have to win games, and South Carolina has beaten the brakes off of this team and really every other ranked team they played besides UCLA all season long. This was, we talked about beforehand, this was the 6th game out of 13 that South Carolina's women were going to have against a ranked opponent. And they won all of those games by double digits, and they won yesterday's by double digits. And again, so you go into the game, you have 2 of the best coaches, if not the 2 best coaches in the country. I personally think they are. Kim Mulkey's great, and it's hard not to argue the fact that you talk about natties, and where they were 2 years ago and where South Carolina was last year. It's the Kirby Smart, Nick Saban type thing, but for women's basketball. That's how good it is. Colin Murray-Boyles has missed both free throws. Fantastic. But it's that kind of stage that this game is on. Like it was awesome to see how hyped Colonial Life was. And it was awesome to see this team kind of overcome a lot of things early on. But again, I think LSU is a good team. They're a great program, and there's a lot of season left. But for this to be a rivalry game, we're not even close. Like, I mean, the 17 straight losses. South Carolina has now won, I think, 53 straight SEC regular season games. They've won 69 straight home games. I mean, there's no one else that's in their league. Now, sadly, you don't get to play natties or 4 natties at home in Colonial Life. Otherwise, I think we could probably just, mail in the rest of the season. But getting into the game itself, it was a really, really good game. Tons of lead changes back and forth. And you saw LSU, what we heard from Patrick Wright and the play-by-play announcer before we did our preview show, which was they were not going to come in phased. They were not going to come in scared. They were going to play in the moment and play within themselves. But the things that were the keys for them to win these games. Sorry, Colin Murray Boyles is still at the line. We got an offensive missed free throw, offensive rebound. Pringle kicks it out to Conyers for 3. Goes through Conyers' hands out of bounds. Mississippi State basketball. This team is unbelievable. All right, back to focusing on the women's game. LSU came out of the gates hot. It's 20-13 at the end of the first quarter. One of the things that Patrick brought up here too was most of the stuff he said. I hope you guys listened to the preview thing. He was phenomenal. I'm so happy that we were able to talk with him. I know we couldn't get him on the actual show, but we did the interview beforehand, and it was great. One of the things he brought up, he was like, listen, South Carolina dominates the boards better than anyone else in the country. I think they got out-rebounded yesterday, which was a shock. But it was a game also where you come out of the gates, and he made the point, he's like, they have to be good in the mid-range, they have to be good from 3, and they cannot get run out of the gym, especially like on the stat sheet on rebounds. Their first 5 misses, LSU's first 5 misses, were all 5 offensive rebounds, which was, it felt like you're down 20-13 in the first quarter, and just watching it, maybe it's just because you know how dominant this team is. Maybe it's because we've seen this movie before, and especially with this team. But it very much felt like a situation where it's like, listen, this is great. It's going to be very hard for you to keep this up for 3 quarters. And it was. And you saw that going into half. I think the second quarter was a much different story. South Carolina outscored LSU 23-13. You go up, you have a 3-point lead at half, 33-30, or 36-33. It was one of the two. But you lead at the half, and you feel good, right? You feel good about that, especially after the way the first quarter was. And all of those mistakes that happened in the first quarter changed. And now, give credit to Kim Mulkey and LSU because they're a really good team. But she brings up a good point when she brought it up in her post-game press conference. Like, how do you compete with this? Like, I'm not trying to jinx anything, but how do you compete? They have 10 McDonald's All-Americans is what she kept saying. How do you have 10 McDonald's All-Americans? And how do you props again to Dawn Staley? How do you do such a good job of making sure they all stay happy and fed and get them into the games? It was a tremendous win. And I think that, listen, it's I hate to say that you almost expect it, because you do want to expect wins, especially at this level of being the best team and the most elite program in the country. That's it. That's not an arrogance. That is just a confidence that you want to exude when you go into games like this. You do expect to win games. Like South Carolina expects to win in every single time they take the court. Every single time they take the court, they expect to win, and probably win big. That's how talented this team is. Sanaya Fagan was fantastic. 12 points, 7 rebounds. I'm reading off these stat sheets here. I mean, it was awesome. Here's the quote again. I don't know that I've ever coached against a team that has 10 McDonald's All-Americans. How do you even keep 10 on the roster? Having a run like this certainly helps. South Carolina continues domination of the league. It's won 4 of the past SEC tournament titles with its 54th straight regular season win in conference play. A tremendous win for Dawn Staley and company, and I thought it was fantastic, and also the toughness they showed inside. Listen, that LSU team is not as deep as South Carolina. No one in the country is as deep as South Carolina. But watching that team, listen, Flau'Jae Johnson was fantastic. Anissa Morrow, I continue to say, is one of the best players in the country. But when you have, as Patrick said to us, the big 3 for LSU, you would put up against anybody in the country. The depth of this South Carolina team is unbelievable. And what they have on the bench, what they can bring off the bench, it was just fantastic. So that is all for the opening part of the show. We're going to get into, like I said, the latest debacle here for the men's game before our lovely live producer has to go. Before we do that, I want to tell you one more time about our friends at the Game Time app. And listen, maybe you're trying to get tickets early for men's basketball games at home. Maybe it's for the next women's game at home. Maybe it's for something that's not even sports related. Maybe you want to go to a concert or anything else of the sort. use the Game Time app and use it often. They do a phenomenal job. And the thing they do best, guys, is serving the customer. And that's something that a lot of ticket brokers and companies do anymore this day and age. My favorite thing about the Game Time app, how about the all-in upfront pricing? That way there's no surprises when I get to checkout. There's nothing crazy when you look at the fees that are going to be attached to anything. Nothing like that. You get your all-in ticket price up front. And then you also can get things like the best customer service guarantee and lowest price guarantee of anyone in the game. You can also get your seats, a view from your seats before you ever step foot in the arena, stadium, or whatever you're going to see. A full-on panoramic view of exactly what you will see inside before you ever step foot in the gate. You need to be taking advantage of the Game Time app because they are fantastic. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Hit that green screen, Producer Allison. Why did I just... Okay, one more. Oh, man. Let's get into the debacle of but it's still ongoing. It just ended. South Carolina falls to 0-7 in conference play, 65-60 against Mississippi State. We watched this game over here, and it's just frustrating. There's nothing else really to say. It's frustrating. I don't know. Like, I will tell you this. I felt more positive about this loss than I have the other ones. Like the collapse against Florida is one thing, right? You look at this. This is going to sound stupid because it's very frustrating the way this team loses. I'm texting Allie during the game because we're about to record, and you're watching overtime, and it's like, guys, you took one shot in the first 2 minutes and 45 seconds of a 5-minute overtime. With a minute to go in OT, you had 4 total shots that you had taken. Four in 4 minutes. 2 of them were air balls. Not getting good looks, not getting to the rim. All of that is so frustrating. Pringle was not great down the stretch. You got a foul like 30 feet away from the basket on Josh Hubbard in a tie game, so they take the lead, or maybe it was a 2-point game at that point. But like either way, you're shooting an 84% free throw shooter to the line. It's just you get an incredible defensive play from Colin Murray-Boyles where he deflects a pass, goes into the not the stands, but basically out of bounds, throws it over his head to Pringle. Pringle gets these on a breakaway, dribbles it off his leg, goes out of bounds. It's just so many little things that this team does that'll drive you crazy. Also, the amount of, in football they would call it air yards on passes, and we'll call it that too on this, I guess. The distance of passes this team makes offensively, especially in the half court, is unbelievable. Like the amount of cross court passes that big men are making, that other people make, like it just, it'll drive you crazy. I say all that to also tell you this. Today's loss is probably the most positive I have felt about this team in weeks. You lose at home, you lose by 5. It's the 4th of your 7 losses, the 4th one you've lost by 5 points or less. You're talking about 4 losses by a combined 12 points. So Vanderbilt, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Florida. 3 of those top 15 teams, 2 of them are in the top 10. They fought like hell today. And I was really proud to see that. I will also tell you this. The ability to have Jamari Thomas back in this offense is a massive, massive deal. He went for 19 today, and he still looks a little bit banged up, not 100% himself. But that's a guy, guys, you've missed him since the Bama game. He's missed the last 4 straight games. In 15 games prior to that he played, 11 times he went for double-digit points. This is what you're missing offensively. You need a scorer. It goes without saying, I think everybody would agree with this, but Colin Murray-Boyles it doesn't matter if they're up, down, whatever. That kid plays his ass off every single time they take the court, and I love him for it. Here's the thing. Like this may sound stupid because it's a loss is a loss, and you don't want to sit here and have a, what's it called? I'm not an emotional win. What's it called? Allie, text me the phrase I'm trying to think of. Is it an emotional win? It's not an emotional win. Either way, you don't want to sit here and like discount the fact that you lost. You have an L in the column either way. You're now 0-7 in conference play, and that sucks. But this team was down by 14 points. I'm trying to pull it up right now. They were down by 14 points, I want to say, with like 7 minutes to go in the game. They could have nailed it in. They could have lost and got ran out of their own gym. This is a team they lost by 35 to. 35 a couple weeks ago. You take them to overtime, and they fought back, and they played really, really well. They fought back and played really, really well in the closing stretch. And it was just one of those things where, it's Mississippi State's a good team. It's a top 15 team. You didn't take enough good shots. And here's the other thing too. The numbers are nauseating, but we're gonna go over them anyway. 22 of your 60 points were at the free throw line. Now that's good. They shot well from the free throw line, 76%. But you shot 29.3% from the field. You were 4 of 20. 4 of 20 from 3. Anytime you're under 30% from 2 and 3, or not from 2, but you're under 30% total and from 3, that's not a recipe to win. Now, that being said, you combine that with 19 turnovers, the second highest thing they've had all year. The way they played in the extra period and overtime was not a recipe for success. I think at halftime they were 5 of 25. They were I think they were like 1 of 13 or 1 of 14 from 3. It was bad. It was bad. But they didn't quit. So we have been harsh on this team because of the numbers that they have put up in the the lack of numbers or number at this point that they've put up in the win column. I tip my cap to them today, man. I really do. They fought the entire game. They fought against a top 15 team. They played their butts off. They made a lot of mistakes. This team is going to make a lot of mistakes. That's just who they are. But Jamari Thomas coming back, maybe that's a catalyst. I don't know. He had 19, like I said. Got to the line 12 times, made 10 of them. I like it. All right, that is all for today. We have a quick episode. Not a ton to talk about. We'll be back again tomorrow. I hope all of you are having a fantastic weekend. I hope all of you are safe. The weather is still obviously freezing cold outside, but make sure you guys are safe on the roads and all that good stuff. We'll be back, like I said, for a Sunday episode. Until then, go Cox. We'll see y'all then.